Welcome back. We are now hearing an on-chain vote said hell no to gambling on the Internet Computer Protocol. We're going to be going through what this proposal was all about, who voted no on it, and why Internet Computer voted no. Again, these are just my opinions and my thesis and analysis on what is going on in the Internet Computer ecosystem. And as you guys know, I really do think that Internet Computer has a very, very unique product here, and they are setting up for world dominance in the AI, compute, high performance compute, ability to utilize the blockchain for things other than just processing transactions back and forth. And we've seen that through the rollout of Caffeine AI, along with there's another AI agent called Compute. And Internet Computer is working with some of the large, I would imagine, AI infrastructure companies in some capacity to experiment or test this kind of stuff. We just heard from Dominic that banks are going to be testing on Internet Computer. Just go look for that video. I think it's called ICP, banks will use ICP or something like that. We've seen the transaction volume and transaction throughput of the network significantly increase. And so Internet Computer is kind of preparing the network for mainstream and potential institutional use cases. And so talking about gambling could put a huge wrench in all of the building going on in the Internet Computer Protocol. And so maybe that is the reason that they said no to online gambling on the Internet Computer. Now we're going to go through this all in today's video, so make sure you're subscribed to the video, to the channel. Also, give the video a free thumbs up, because remember, crypto is not free, but thumbs up are always free. And if you want to help support the channel financially, click the join button down below to learn more about becoming a channel member. And thanks to all of our channel members. And even if you're not a channel member or don't want to become one, at least give the video a free thumbs up. And check out my other Internet Computer videos by just typing it on YouTube, typing in the Cryptoviser ICP. So this company called ZK Poker, which says fair online poker built on the Internet Computer with on-chain randomness, instant crypto payouts, and simple registration, they said on X, "Hey everyone, unfortunately our proposal to launch a ZK Game DAO was rejected on the network nervous system," which is basically the governance platform for the Internet Computer this time around. They said, "Our team is working to address concerns brought forward by Dfinity, and we'll try again in the future when we're confident we've satisfied these requirements." And so somebody actually asked them, like, what were the concerns that the team had? ZK Poker said there were concerns relating to syndication requirements, the team, early investors, and contributors being independent, and the need for a security review. We're exploring options with them to try to and address these independence claims. We've offered to dox ourselves entirely to them if that makes them more confident. We're unsure why exactly is expected on that front for now. For the syndication requirements, that's just a waiting game. We made a change for the SNS file after proposal went live to add some canister smart contracts and disable the Neuron Fund participation. The rules require us to wait 2 weeks after any changes before submitting a proposal. For the security review, we intended to hold off until we could afford a full-fledged audit. These are notoriously expensive. We're exploring options on that front, and we'll have, at the very least, acquire a security review if we're unable to attain a full audit. So let me give you guys my opinions on this so far, and then I'm going to show you the actual proposal and who voted for what. Because I think that's important also. Because if Dfinity and the main developers of Internet Computer are voting for something, or some are voting for, some are voting against, or they're all just voting against, it gives us clear insight into where the team at Dfinity and the developers around the world are focusing the efforts and really want the blockchain to succeed at. And so, yes, I definitely think when you're talking about gambling and online casino of any sort, right, there needs to be security and there needs to be trust, right? In a trustless environment, you need trust. And so I do think that, who invested in the platform, who the contributors are, who is running the platform, these are very critical components whether it's publicly or through Dfinity, because Dfinity does not want to act as as a regulator for the internet computer blockchain, right? Dfinity wants to be one of the main developers and kind of, I guess, the guiding light for where the vision of the protocol is moving towards. But I don't think that they want to regulate these platforms or regulate the dApps that are built on the internet computer. And by the way, I don't know that there's anything holding back ZK Poker from necessarily building, right? But when we're talking about launching and asking for funding, that's a whole different story. And so when we're talking about online gambling, online casinos, risk on chain, you guys have to understand, like, generally speaking, developers and coders, they are very risk averse, right? They just want to build, and they don't want to introduce risk in an environment where they're building up. Now, one could argue that startups take more risk than established companies, which is true. But I want you guys to remember this about internet computer. We still have a lot of people who are effectively stuck in their positions from 2021. Because remember, in 2021 at launch, this was the ICP price at launch, $133. And it went all the way up to $800. And then there was effectively gambling on the internet computer without even touching the internet computer coin directly through FTX and Alameda, basically trading the perpetual futures market on internet computer and manipulating the underlying price of internet computer. We know this went on with those two entities, and we know that it went on with internet computers. So 2 + 2 = 4. Clearly, they were involved in what was going on with the internet computer price manipulation. I mean, I don't know, from a market cap perspective, internet computer today, the market cap is about $3 billion or $4 billion, something like that. And we're at $5. So 20x that would be about $40 to $60 billion. I mean, I think that the network is worth that much, but I don't know that the market thinks it, at least just not yet. But we're going to get there. Anyway, so I think that, there is, from longtime developers and users and supporters of the internet computer, I think that there's this belief that they need to protect the users of the ecosystem, which I think that they definitely, there needs to be, especially at the beginning, right? Protection to make sure that the network is growing in the direction that's going to gain the most new users, new developers, new projects, new money. And I don't know that gambling is it, right? It's definitely a use case. But I don't know that internet computer really wants to focus and have that risk on the chain while they're developing some essentially revolutionary capabilities utilizing AI and hosting and computing different programs within these dApps on chain, and also interconnecting to other blockchains so that internet computers' compute capabilities can be utilized by other blockchains that don't have compute capabilities. And it seems like that's really where the focus of internet computer is. I mean, the internet computer even has a roadmap. I didn't pull it up on this video. I guess we could pull it up. It's internetcomputer.org/roadmap, I think. Could be wrong on that. Nope, I was correct. So yeah. And you can actually see like what they're actually working on and developing. But this is a project outside of Dfinity, outside of this whole AI narrative. And so what exactly were they looking for? What exactly was this proposal for the ZK Game DAO? Well, let's take a look. You can actually go on the internet computer dashboard. It's very easy. You go to governance and then proposals, and you can see every proposal that's being voted on. Some are very small. They're just minor code changes in the underlying ecosystem. Some are for major projects, and some are for other things. So this proposal specifically was to create an SNS, a service nervous system, for the ZK Games DAO, a fully on-chain suite of betting platforms built on the internet computer. ZK Games currently operates two flagship products, ZK Poker and Pure Poker, which are fully on chain poker platforms with provably fair gameplay and transparent mechanics. The platforms feature host to earn capabilities, allowing users to create tables and share in revenue. This SNS will govern the ZK Games ecosystem, including control over critical canister, smart contracts, treasury management, and future development of additional games such as Mahjong and chess. Interesting. The ecosystem also includes this, which is a decentralized stablecoin pegged to this. The SNS token, this, will serve as both a governance and utility token. Initial supply will be 1 billion tokens allocated as follows: 50% to the treasury, 25% to a protection fund, 5% to an ecosystem incentives, 20% as a strategic reserve, 10.5% to early investors. The team will get 14.5%, and the SNS Launchpad will get 25%. That's more than 100%. 50% plus 25% is 75%, plus 5% is 80%, plus that is 100%. That's 110%, 125%, 150%. I don't know how that works, or I'm reading this wrong, but I don't think that I am doing either. It's very odd. They have 150% allocation of their coins. Anyway, moving right along, the SNS will be initialized for neurons with neurons for the core team and early contributors, and appropriate dissolve delays and vesting periods to ensure long-term alignment with the project's success. Treasury funds will support gambling licensing and operational costs, community incentives, marketing initiatives, and liquidity provisions for the token. By supporting the proposal, you're helping create a truly decentralized, community-governed betting ecosystem that leverages the internet computer's unique capabilities to provide unprecedented transparency and fairness in online gaming. Now you can see right here the voting results. 66% said no, 26% didn't vote or undecided, and 6% voted yes. So they had very, very little. If you just look at the voting power, right? 30 million ICP voted yes, 305 million ICP voted no. So let's break down who voted for what. And by the way, the reason I'm doing this type of video is because I do think that it's important that people understand what's going on the underlying network, what projects are building on the underlying network, what projects are trying to get funding or support on the underlying networks. Because I'm not saying that online gambling is not a good use case. In fact, I used to cover Funfair, which was an online casino, and they were regulated in certain areas. I mean, the coin, on the other hand, has done terribly. You can see back in 2018, this coin was up at 17 cents, and it has diluted to less than basically just about half of a penny. So yeah, that hasn't done that well. And I don't think that they've gotten a lot of usage or use cases beyond their initial pump right there, because if you go to their website now, it just shows who they're investing in. So they're becoming more of like a venture capital fund. So that was really the only other online casino and gambling. And I covered it in the early days of this channel because it was very interesting and they were the only ones doing it. But you can clearly see from the proposal voting that the ICP ecosystem overwhelmingly voted no. I mean, 90% of the voting power said no. So let's understand why and who and what. So down here, you can see votes of known neurons. So this shows us who is actually voting in terms of like large holders. So Dfinity Foundation voted no. You can see that right there. Synapse voted no. Arthur's Neuron voted no. ICP developers voted no. Crypto is Good voted no. And I guess we could probably sort this by only no's. The Accumulators Neuron voted no. The 8-Year Gang voted no. Right? These are long-term ICP holders and developers. And so, yeah, a lot of no's here. The Geek Factory, ICP Hub Poland voted no. Neuron Pool voted no. So a lot of people voted no on this. And really the question then comes is like, why are they voting no? Are they voting no because it's a gambling ecosystem? Are they voting no because they don't like the platform because the executive team is not doxed on it? Like, why are they voting no? Well, you can get a little bit more information on the forum where they talk about, getting votes and basically upgrading their ecosystem. And if we go down, we can see some of the no votes. This person said, I voted no because launching a gambling related DAO without the proper groundwork is irresponsible. A verified gambling license is legally essential, and a full security audit is critical to protect users. I would agree. The issue with the gambling licenses is there's so many, like every city, state, country, local government, everybody has different rules for gambling and different licenses. And so even like the online, like the sports betting apps, it took them years to roll out in different states just in the US because they had to get licenses individually in every single state. They have to have compliance officers, and it probably costs more than it's worth to actually just run that business, to be honest. But again, you have a lot of like the big ones like FanDuel and DraftKings and stuff like that. This they responded. This person said, I was a tester on the poker game for several months and I had so much fun playing on it. I saw how you would update the game and fix bugs in real time. You also listen to the community and now it's open source. You got a pretty solid foundation. This person said, this is a solid project with a quality team. This person said it's a clear rejection in my view. Interesting. He said, no, doesn't meet well-established minimum standards for a compliant SNS launch. Okay, I think that's fair. The person said, my feeling is that a licensing is an excuse to take funds off chain where it's hard to track exactly how it's being spent. It's not my area of expertise, but why should a gambling license be needed, particularly if we're talking about a DApp that has very little usage in the scale of things? To me, this seems like something that should be tackled retrospectively if a regulatory body starts displaying interest and demanding it. Don't necessarily agree with that. They voted no valid gambling license, no independent security audit, premature launch, and concerns around accountability post-launch, right? And that's definitely important. And one of the things that I think we're seeing with Internet Computer that we have not seen with other ecosystems like Cardano is ICP is very, very, at least at this point, it seems very like cautious. I think that's the word, cautious, of adding features that are not going to be used or adding features that could add compliance issues to the Internet Computer. Because right now there's no real actual compliance issue on the Internet Computer that I know of, right? They're running a platform. It is somewhat highly centralized because Dfinity is in control of the network. There's not a lot of public nodes where they're just, I mean, if you just look at the overall, there's only 37 subnets, right? 571 node machines. 94 node providers. I would imagine most of these are centralized within either Mega Whales or the Dfinity ecosystem. And so this is how a lot of projects start off, right? They're protecting their ecosystem. They're protecting the products that are built on it. Because if you put a gambling ecosystem on and there's an issue with it, which I would say in online gambling, there's probably more issues than there's not. I mean, I remember one of the online gambling platforms was advertising on pretty much every major YouTuber's page. And they were having people like live streaming and they would keep winning and winning and winning. And meanwhile, when you play, you don't win, right? And so that creates credibility and concerns about where that's all going. And I do definitely think that when you're looking at ICP and you're talking about gambling, obviously the whales didn't like it, and obviously this is probably not the best use case right now. They need to be on chain more. They need to get more users. They need to prove that this is this is needed, and also what is the focus? What is the roadmap? Where is this ZK Game DAO going to be focused in the 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? And if they're focused on getting gambling licenses, this is a losing game because there's, again, so many different jurisdictions. So if you want to go to the highest gambling area in the world to launch the product, how much is that going to cost? How much compliance costs is that going to be? And I think that if they want to build this, that's fine. But if they're asking for support from the ecosystem and they're going to launch a coin on the ecosystem, there needs to be a lot more questions, especially when they're launching this at the top of the market, right? Not the top of the ICP market. I'm just saying the top of the general crypto market, right? Because Bitcoin has been at an all-time record high for quite a while. We may not have an altcoin season. I don't know. But it is definitely an interesting topic because there's a lot of money to be made in gambling and online gambling. It just has to be done in the right manner. And I think that what Internet Computer is trying to achieve with AI, with world compute, with high performance compute, this doesn't really fit in that. It doesn't mean that it can't be used or that the network can't support this kind of platform. I just don't know that this would be the right type of ecosystem for launching, right? They need to have a further proof of concept, in my view, right? This is my personal opinion. I'm not a mega whale that's going to sway the votes one way or another. And I'm not trying to put down this company or the team or what they're trying to do because, like I've said, online gaming is definitely a good thing. But this whole conversation on today's video is about the ecosystem choosing what the focus and the vision is for Internet Computer. And again, just looking, objectively, AI, high performance compute, world computer status, banks getting involved in testing different products like Utopia. These, like this pathway is not in line with like a gambling platform at this point. Maybe in the future it will be, but they're going for bigger things. That's like OpenAI saying, what we're actually going to do with ChatGPT is we're going to add online poker so that you can play with poker. People are going to say like, wait, are you an AI platform or are you now online gambling platform, right? And again, it is a project built on top. It's the same thing like there's part of the cross-chain functionality that Internet Computer has. They are able to, like Bitcoin DeFi, for instance, through the Internet Computer, they're cross-swapping NFTs from Bitcoin blockchain to the ICP blockchain. And I'm like, what's the point in having NFT? Like, who is actually trading NFTs from Bitcoin blockchain to the ICP blockchain? Like, who's using NFTs to begin with? Who's trading them to begin with? And then who's going to be like cross-chain transferring them? It just doesn't make sense why they would be doing this. Now, I personally think there's bigger reasons. They're just testing with the NFTs, but this is part of a bigger rollout for Bitcoin DeFi on Internet Computer, but I could be wrong on that also. But the Internet Computer ecosystem and the developers and the companies behind a lot of the development here, they have sent a clear message that this is not what Internet Computer needs right now and not something that the community is willing to support at the current moment. And I do think that looking at the risk is huge. And it shows that the team at Internet Computer are looking at the risks. They're looking at the credibility risk. They're looking at the financial risk. They're looking at the loss of confidence if anything does go wrong there. And they're looking at the regulatory risks that this could impose on not just this DAO, right, but on the overall ecosystem. And so this is, I think, a good sign. Not necessarily that they got turned down, because I'm sure that they're not happy about that. But I do think that it's a good sign that the ecosystem is participating in governance at this level, and that they're not just allowing launches at this very early stage to include things that could potentially put the rest of the ecosystem at risk not necessarily a risk of like coming down, but risk of legal implications, risk of customers losing funds, risk of potential rug pulls, all of these type of things. And so I would definitely recommend, if you are highly invested in this ecosystem, to actually go in and read through some of these proposals. I mean, some of these proposals, I mean, it's like it just updates the API, and they're submitting 1,000 of them. I don't understand why they're doing that. But again, I'm not a coder, I'm an investor, so I'm looking at high level kind of stuff. But yeah, I would definitely go through and look at some of these proposals to understand like what these ecosystems are doing. Here's another one: register known neurons in Motoko News. This is a governance action. Let's read through this. It says this proposal requests that my neuron, Motoko News, be registered as a known neuron on the NNS. It represents a transparent, high-stakes voter focused on real adoption, long-term alignment, and ethical governance within the ecosystem. So clearly, this person who is staking a lot of their coins for 8 years wants to be a known neuron on the NNS. I guess it labels who these providers are. So far, getting a lot of yeses, 214 million yeses, 90 million no's. This one, it looks like almost has more participation than the gambling platform, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend going through this. Just go to the ICP website, hover over governance, and click proposals. This is very, very transparent. And I also like that there's open, transparent voting. Because again, if we look at other ecosystems, if we take, for instance, Cardano's ecosystem and governance, we don't know where who's voting on what. They say, oh, well, we have a on-chain voting. Well, where are the votes? Show me the votes. I want to see IO Global, what they're voting for. I want to see what Charles Hoskinson votes for, right? Because maybe I want to vote the same way, or maybe I want to vote opposite what they're doing. But the fact that there's no transparency on the votes in 2025, it's like, come on. Clearly, Internet Computer is superior, right? So yeah, there's a lot of governance stuff. Look at this. This is spam. And by the way, Internet Computer does have spam mechanisms, right? If you get rejected, you have to pay the network a certain amount of ICP. Currently, it looks like the ICP rejection cost is 25 Internet Computer Protocol coins. So at a current price of $5, it costs them $125 to spam the network with this scam airdrop or whatever it is. So you can see that there's clearly people voting. You can actually go here and look at Dfinity's voting power. They have 20%, 22% of the voting power of the actual network, which is not like a majority, but they definitely have influence. And I think that having this kind of transparency up here as well is very important, because it lets people know this is how much coin they have, this is how much voting power they have, and you can actually go and see the votes, who's voting for what, so you know where the votes are coming from. And then if you're like ZK Poker Game that wants to get on the NNS, then they can go to those voters, those whales who voted no, and say, what do we need to do to fix this? What do we need to do to get your support? And again, this just goes into the overall Internet Computer ecosystem, how it's growing organically through community involvement, through developer initiative, and through independent people creating businesses and products on chain. One of the reasons I'm so bullish about the Internet Computer Protocol, and if you want to know what the Internet Computer vision looks like, I would definitely go to the roadmap, because it's focused into individual sections or categories of what they're working on. So if you look at the compute platform, it not only shows you what they're working on now and progress bars to show you, it's in progress, it's completed, it's in early stages, but you can also look at future features that they're looking to implement and work on at some point in the near term. So this is very, very cool for any investor to understand where the network is, where the network is going, what they're focusing on. And other chains, they don't have this anymore. They don't have roadmaps like this, because historically, the chains that did have roadmaps like this, they were not completing what they were set out, saying that they were set out to achieve. And then it would just be, oh, 3 months from now, we're going to get this. Oh, give us 3 more months. And then 3 months come around. They're like, we just need a few more months. We're almost there. A few more months. Oh, just need a few more months. And meanwhile, 3 years later, and you still don't have smart contracts on blockchain. You still don't have interoperability on the blockchain. You still have no stable coins on the blockchain. Internet Computer is breaking through that, and they're holding themselves accountable by putting these things out there for the community to hold them accountable. Say, Dfinity, Dominic, why did you guys say 3 years ago you were going to get AI on chain and we still have no AI on chain? Hey, 3 years ago you said you were going to have interoperability. Why do we still have no interoperability? These are just examples. We know that there is AI the Internet Computer is utilizing AI, and we know that there is some level of interoperability through chain fusion cryptography on the Internet Computer blockchain. Now, obviously, I personally would prefer to have native USDC on Internet Computer, but that's something that is above my pay grade. But I'm going to keep saying it on the channel, and I know they're listening. People have asked Dominic as well, where's native USDC? And he said that they are working on it. They're trying to get it. Obviously they need to get Circle's blessing on that, but they could also go to Tether. But the bottom line is they at least have some connection to these other chains through chain key cryptography. And if you look at the volume, $1.8 million worth of USDC was transacted in the last 7 days through this chain fusion technology, about just under $1 million in Tether, and 233 Bitcoin, which is about $23 million in volume. It's 7-day volume. So this is not huge volume for this cross-chain interoperability. But remember, a lot of people don't even know about Internet Computer and don't know the capabilities of Internet Computer. And we're starting to see more kind of coming on board. And through more implementations and more integrations and more releases and more proposals that actually get approved, or get denied, and then they improve so that they can get it approved. The more we see of this, the more bullish I get, because it tells me that the developers are starting to understand what the capabilities of the Internet Computer is. Internet Computer can compute, can store data, can interoperate with many other different chains, can provide like actual compute through their smart contracts, not just a binary yes or no. You can't do that on any other chain. And so if a chain needs those capabilities, all they got to do is bridge over or interoperate with the Internet Computer through the chain fusion, right? What is fusion? Connecting two chains together. So regardless of the fact that this proposal got rejected, sorry to the team over there that it did get rejected, but I do think that this is a very good signal for investors of Internet Computer to understand that the ecosystem is pinpoint focused on high-level capabilities, high-level technology, and not gambling. Because if Internet Computer were to start moving in that direction, even just with one game or one app, this could open the doorway where ICP is viewed as the gambling platform. I mean, they're trying to get open AI integrations. They're trying to get, maybe not, but as an investor, I think that would be amazing. Or some very high level, one of these companies that are utilizing AI capabilities. They're watching what the Internet Computer is doing. They're watching what the Internet Computer is capable of doing. And so if they start investing, they start integrating or implementing some type of usage of this chain, all the other chains start utilizing the Internet Computer for its compute capabilities. I mean, this is going to be huge. But they don't want to do that if Internet Computer is a gambling platform. And that's, I think, where the issue is. If Internet Computer had thousands of dApps and hundreds of thousands of users, I don't think that it would be a bad product fit for an online casino or a poker app to go live on chain. But I think it's too early, and that it seems to be what the sentiment was on the forum and the discussion about it. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that it is a good product fit for the Internet Computer? Do you think that it should have been approved, or do you agree that it should have been just rejected and you're happy that it got rejected, at least in this round of funding? And I'm going to continue to do these type of videos where we will go through the proposals. We will look for, other potential really high level governance votes. And by the way, if you are submitting a governance a proposal, or you see one that you think should get at least covered on this channel, let me know in the comments down below. That way, tell me what the specific proposal is or link it, and we could actually just tell me what the exact proposal is or the proposal ID number, and I'll look it up and see if we do talk about it on this channel. Because as you can see, there's hundreds of thousands that are submitted every week. So it's very hard to kind of parse through every single one. I got a lot of other things that we're doing on this channel as well. So make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. Give the video a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think about ICP as the AI blockchain or the gambling blockchain down below in the comments. Other than that, I'll see you on the next video. Invest responsibly and crypto on.